Hey y'all, this is gonna be another one of those, like, I don't know if it's gonna be an Ashley's Diary video, but it's gonna be like more of an advice video. So grab a snack, put your car in gear, and just have this playing through your speakers. It's gonna be more of like a podcast type thing, so it could run a little long, but anyways, I hope y'all enjoy. Hey y'all, I want to talk about something real quick that's just been on my heart and on my mind with Thanksgiving coming up. You know, if you're anything like me, you might have a lot of like anxieties and a lot of worries that come with holidays. You know, like the local supermarket wants to put out commercials of, you know, families cutting the turkey together and laughing and giggling, and you know, you feel like doing anything but those things. Some of us have someone or several someones that I like to call Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe is someone who will rip you to shreds at any chance he gets. Uncle Joe does not speak kind things to you. He speaks very negative things to you. For example, if you tell Uncle Joe, hi Uncle Joe, how are you? So good to see you. You know, you give him a hug, and then you know, he asks you how you are, what you've been doing or whatever, and you say, oh yeah, like I just got into law school, or I'm trying to get into law school, and Uncle Joe says something like, well, you know, law school, that's for smart people, and I ain't never known you as being someone who's smart. And then everyone else starts laughing, and then when that is said to you, you feel this big, and you say, well, and then you start to feel like you need to defend yourself, and you say, well, Uncle Joe, I got straight A's through college, and I have a 3.8 GPA or 4.0, and my mentor, who's a lawyer, says that I'm going to be great at this, and you keep defending yourself, and he just keeps tearing you down. Like, well, I remember when you were in second grade, you barely even passed. And then again, everyone erupts in laughter, and it just keeps going and going and going, and then you feel like you need to keep defending yourself to get just an ounce of praise from Uncle Joe. Just an ounce. And it just keeps this, and you have this like screaming feeling that's erupting inside of you, because you just feel like you're being attacked, but yet you know the facts. You know that you have straight A's. You know that you have so many positive people behind you, but for whatever reason, your Uncle Joe refuses to see that. You finally say, Uncle Joe, the things that you're saying to me are unkind, and I don't appreciate that. And when you say that, your entire family goes, then you have another family member, and I'm calling this family member your Aunt Cheryl. Your Aunt Cheryl goes, young lady, your attitude is despicable. This is the holidays. How dare you speak to your Uncle Joe like that? And you run away into a room and close the door, and you're crying, and what did I say her name was? Your Aunt Cheryl comes in after you, and she assures you that your Uncle Joe loves you, and he's always bragging about you. And you're like, are you kidding me? Like, he hates me. Like, he only ever has negative things to say to me, and he only tears me down. And you expect me to believe this person loves me? And then instead of feeling refreshed and happy and full, you feel depleted and angry and sad, and like you have something that you have to recover from. But you know what? As we approach these holidays with potentially the Uncle Joes and Aunt Cheryls in our lives, and Uncle Joe can be a man and a woman, and a man or a woman, and the same thing with Aunt Cheryl. I'm just speaking purely from my heart here. And first off, I want to say that if your Uncle Joe is someone who's older than you, I want to just point out the fact that if Uncle Joe is 65 years old and he's tearing down someone who's 13, like, how sad and lonely and dissatisfied and how much of a failure does he have to feel like in order to tear someone down who's 13, who's just trying to figure out who they are and just trying to make it? Like, how sad and how sick. That is despicable. And I hope that if your Uncle Joe starts to make you feel that way, that you come back to this video and that you can hear my words over his and say that is ridiculous, that is pathetic, and his words are untrue. You are a person of worth, and let those words ring in your mind, and watch this as many times as you have to. And even if you can't believe it in your heart because Uncle Joe's bitterness has just like marinated inside of your soul, just try to keep thinking that, like, no, like, I don't feel like it right now, but like, I'm a person of worth. You know what? I deserve good things. You know, keep telling yourself those things as many times as you have to. Another thing is when you know that you're going to potentially approach the battleground with the Uncle Joe or Uncle Joes in your life, that don't talk about things that are not safe subjects. You know, start now and start thinking about what topics are safe. And if Uncle Joe wants to rip on you for them, that you're not going to get hurt. Something that I love and that I think is really cool is the show called Is It Cake on Netflix, and I consider that to be like a safe subject. It's basically these master bakers who have, I'm wondering if this guy's watching me filming. These master bakers who craft hyper-realistic cakes, and it kind of tricks your brain. Like, you might be seeing a pair of flip-flops and then a cake that's made like flip-flops, but they do this thing where they cut into it and you're like, you have to guess before they start cutting into it, like, is this one cake or is this one cake? And it's just really cool the things these people come up with. And, you know, maybe watch a couple of episodes, and like, if you have a laptop or a TV, you can even like share the show. And like, that will give you even more time that you don't have to worry about things to talk about with or in front of Uncle Joe, because perhaps Uncle Joe even interjects himself in conversations that are not for him from across the room and says something negative to tear you down. You know? So, but having that TV to fill up that space, that Netflix episode, that could potentially make it more safe and put the conversation in a safe place. Like, if Uncle Joe wants to rip on, you know, Mike, who's a master baker on that show, I don't even know if one of them is named Mike, I'm just making names up, but if he wants to rip on him, like, that's not gonna hurt me, you know, like, and then I hope that you get to a point in your healing where you can laugh at it, that you could just like be like, wow, Uncle Joe, like, you're just so far in your negativity, you're just so far in your depression or whatever, like, whatever is going on in your brain. He's so far in that realm of darkness that, like, he only sees negative things. Okay. But yeah, like, I'd pick out several different, like, safe subjects, and like, if you know that you're successful and you know that you're like, or maybe you've already gotten into law school or med school or whatever, but you have an Uncle Joe in your life, just keep it to yourself. Because that's something that means so much to you inside, and that you have positive people that you can safely share that with, and they will celebrate that with you. And Uncle Joe can find out, like, you know, whenever the general public finds out, because he has proven himself not to be a safe person. Like, you know, like, don't think that, oh, this is going to be my moment that I show Uncle Joe up. Nope, you're not going to, because Uncle Joe can only see negative things because he feels sad inside, or whatever his excuse is. I also want to bring up this book that I read lately that was really, really good. I actually listened to it on audiobook. It's called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And something that the author talks about that I think about all the time is, like, if someone had so it's like, if you want to become a millionaire, you want to become wealthy, wealthy people think differently than regular people do. And like, one of the faults that regular people have is this thing with negativity, that they constantly think that their problems are too big, or their problems are bigger than them, and then they kind of like crumble under them. And like, I'm a Christian, so I choose to say it like this, like, I believe that God is bigger than all my problems. But people that are broke, he uses the words like wealthy and broke, or well off and broke, and people that are broke are negative and have these like negative things they say and the negative ways they think. And anyways, he also uses the metaphor of giving someone with an infectious disease a hug. Like, if somebody had the measles, would you go and be around them and hug them? Like, any infectious disease? No. So why are you spending time with and listening to people who have measles of the mind? And he even says this, he says, instead of itching being a symptom, they get to be, he put the word be in front of itching and said they get to, you know, instead of itching, they get to blank. You know, complaining. It's a synonym for the word complaining. But anyways, think about it like that. Like, the Uncle Joe in your life has measles of the mind. And like, why would you listen to what he has to say? Like, does your Uncle Joe have multiple passive streams of income? Oh, wait. Nope. He's probably broke. And he's probably just tearing other people down all day long. Not worth your time. Some of you might be watching this still with wounds from last year or 2 years ago or 3 years ago on your heart and on your mind. And like, I hear you. I've been there. I've done that. I get it. You are absolutely not alone. And those things that one person or that group of people said about you, or that way that they always want to tear you down, it's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's because there's a problem with them. And even if like that's hard for you to hear, because it was really hard, I'm very hard-headed, and that was something that was really hard for me to hear for a long time. Like, one day, keep doing you and keep seeking the good, and one day you're gonna look around you and you're gonna have so many amazing positive people around you that you're gonna realize that like you were never the problem. And I just want to reiterate that the way that the Uncle Joes and Aunt Cheryls act in your life is despicable and ridiculous. Like, shame on them. Shame on them. But instead of allowing that same bitterness and that same negativity to penetrate you, that penetrated them, I encourage you to be like, okay, put your name in here. What does blank need right now? Like, what is good for blank? Like, even the things that are not good, that you don't feel like doing, but you know are good for you. Like, sometimes we don't feel like taking a shower, but we know that that's good for us. So, like, I need to take a shower right now, so you take a shower. Like, even if you don't feel like getting up and go to the gym, like, go to the gym. Like, this is good for me, you know? Someone's getting in their car next to me. Something else I think about is I have nieces and nephew. I have nieces and a nephew, and I think about like, what kind of world do I want to contribute to for them? Like, obviously, like Uncle Joe and his generation, their ways of putting the younger, I think there used to be a normalcy in like the adults being skeptical or negative or whatever for no good reason, just for the sake of they're older. Used to be a thing, but now the negative consequences of that and the negative consequences on mental health are coming to light. And I know that I had really bad self-esteem issues as a kid, and a lot of it was stemming from what was going on at school with me, and I kind of struggled when I was in school, and some of the things the teachers said to me just made me feel like I was not a good person, like, all around. Like, I felt like I was like behind in everything. In reality, maybe I was just behind in reading or behind in math, and like, but I had other talents. And in the adult world, like, there's people that are good mechanics but are not good at art, or there's people that are good at painting but not good at pottery, and you know what, that's okay. And like, no person is more valuable than the other. Like, we all have our different gifts, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you're a throwaway human being if you're not good at this one thing. And it doesn't have to like penetrate your entire sense of being. I think about my nieces and my nephew, and I think about like, what kind of world do I want to contribute to for them? Like, what kind of adult do I want to be for them? When I grow up, I don't want to be like Uncle Joe. I want to be like the willow tree in Pocahontas, where I'm just like warm and giving and comforting, and my nieces and my nephew, and God willing, someday my children can come to me and tell me about their projects, and tell me about their endeavors, and tell me about their jobs, and tell me about their failures, and tell me about their successes, and I can be a safe person and a source of positivity and love. Like, I don't want to be an Uncle Joe. In my schooling, I was a part of Student Government Association, SGA, and we went to some leadership conferences, and in one of the leadership conferences, we talked about, we had an Olympian come speak, and her name was Coach Wynn, Sherry Wynn, and something that she talked about is, like, sometimes the older people in our lives will, like, put us down and make us stop believing in ourselves, and we give into it. But the people who are super successful maybe didn't give into that. And like, what would happen if we didn't give into those doubts? What would happen if we didn't give into those negative people? What would happen if we instead leaned into our gifts? What would happen if we instead leaned into our dreams? What would happen if we would lean into those things instead? What would happen? we'd probably be at the Olympics too. That's what. And when we're dealing with the other people in our lives, like, and she was kind of talking about it in the context of like leadership meetings, but it can be in the context of anything. Not being a yes but person. That when someone talks about an idea or somebody talks about something they're gonna do, don't just say yes but and then say something negative. Don't be that person. Be the yes and person. That, like, I think some of our conditioning from some of these negative interactions we've had with people in our lives make us feel like we should say yes but instead, maybe if an idea is novel, maybe say yes and tell me more about that. Yes, and how will that work? You know? Instead of doing the yes but thing.